Good morning. Have you ever become obsessed with something and not really known where it came from? Or maybe you had a child who became totally engrossed in the most surprising, out-of-the-blue passion that took over their life for years. Well, I'm about to tell you one of those stories. This story is intrinsically Rio de Janeiro and surprisingly Holland America Line. And I'm going to have some help telling the story.
My name is Maren, and I traveled with my mom on Holland America Line. We started in 2005, and we traveled for more than 1,100 sea days.
Maren had been in Rio de Janeiro before and had stumbled upon a quirky staircase decorated with lots of colourful tiles, and she wanted to take her mum there. But no one really knew what she was talking about at the time. Even the taxi driver couldn't find it. So she put in some dedicated Googling, and once she'd found the stairs, she found something else that interested her.
While Googling the stairs, I thought, why is this guy always in every single picture that pops up when I Google colorful staircase Rio? I had no idea that he was actually the artist and that he was still alive. It's quite rare that you have a piece of art and you still have the guy being alive who made it and actually living next to the stairs.
So Maren had found the stairs that she wanted to show her mum. She still didn't expect to meet the artist. But when she next made it to Rio de Janeiro on board Veendam in 2011, and her taxi pulled up at these little-known, brightly tiled stairs, just off the tourist track, there he was, Selarón. First and foremost, a painter, originally from Chile, had moved to Rio in the 1980s and rented a couple of rooms on a fairly run-down, pretty steep set of stairs running through the Lapa and Santa Teresa neighborhoods in the city. He started decorating the 215 stairs leading up to the convent of Santa Teresa in 1990. And 21 years later, when Veendam called here, it was still an eccentric work in progress. Selarón needed more tiles, and Maren had an idea.
I said, well, to be honest, I don't really have any tiles on me right now. But the company that we always sail with, they give you a little, like a Delft tile. And if I ever make it back here, I promise you I will get you all the tiles that I have double at home.
And with that, they took a photograph on the stairs and went about enjoying their visit to the city. By the way, you will never get a photo of the Selarón Steps looking this empty ever again. They are now right up there as one of the most visited attractions in the whole city. But for their first 20-something years, they were just a local talking point, a special surprise to the lucky few tourists who accidentally came across them when deviating from the main sites. Well, Maren had made Selarón a promise. If she ever came back, then she would give him any doubles that she had of her Holland America Line tiles. Well, it turns out she did end up coming back on the World Cruise in 2012. And it turns out she did have some doubles. 7 doubles.
I said to my mom, you know what? We already have so much luggage. I don't mind taking 7 tiles along. Let's see if that old dude is sitting on his staircase again, and maybe we'll see him and we will get him the tiles.
Well, if you've ever wondered the impact of a Holland America Line tile, have a listen to this.
I gave the 7 Holland America Line tiles to Selarón, and honestly, I've never seen a grown man being so happy for receiving 7 tiles. I mean, he kissed those tiles, he pressed them to his heart, and he was absolutely delighted to get them, and he promised that he will put them into his masterpiece. And I thought, oh my God, I would really love to see if that's going to happen.
Now, I think at this point it's fair to say that Selarón and his stairs had sparked something pretty intense in Maren. Professionally, she was a flight attendant for a national flag carrier, and she did everything she could to get scheduled on the Rio route, right down to learning Portuguese. She took the airline's language proficiency test, she passed it, and in 2013, 2 years after she first met Selarón on his steps and offered him her spare Holland America Line tiles, she was offered the Rio route that she really wanted.
My first flight was in July 2013, and I thought I'm going to meet the guy and ask him if he ever put our tiles into his masterpiece.
Maren was about to find out if her Holland America Line spare tiles had made the cut in this spectacular staircase. She was also about to find out that her eccentric artist friend had been murdered. Selarón was found dead at the foot of his beautiful stairs, stabbed in the back, doused with paint thinner, and set on fire. The official cause of death was recorded as suicide. Now, we don't need to dwell on the improbable conclusion of the coroner's report, but it is clear to everyone that Selarón, at the age of 65, died before his time. Maren visited the stairs this time with a different sort of feeling. And she started climbing, looking for the little blue square tiles. And she found them.
Exactly in front of his house were those 7 tiles all in one row. It still gives me goosebumps even telling you about this. So this moment was so, I don't even know what I felt. I just sat there crying and I thought, oh my God, he put all 7 tiles that I gave him. He actually kept them together and he put them together in his masterpiece. And he put one upside down, which is clearly visible that it's upside down because it says Holland America Line on it and now it's upside down. But he was an artist, so you have to be kind of crazy if you're an artist, otherwise that doesn't work. So, and I just sat there crying for I don't know how much time. And I thought, oh my God, I just want to say thank you to the person, I just want to be grateful that the 7 tiles that my mom and I gave to him are now part of this super pretty masterpiece. And I thought, okay, let me go at least to the cemetery and find out and put like a flower pot or something next to his grave and just virtually say thank you to him.
But this was no easy task. When Selarón died, he died a poor man. He'd been living hand to mouth in his rented rooms on the steps, and beyond his tiles and paintings, he had little to account for his time on Earth. The sad fact of this fabulously creative yet isolated artist's death is no one was there to claim the body. Despite the joy that his work has given thousands of people, maybe more than thousands by this point, nobody cared enough about Selarón to give him a funeral. So he was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave in the São João Batista Cemetery in the Botafogo area of Rio. But if you know Maren, you know that she's not one to back down from a mission.
I don't know how many football fields fit into that cemetery, but it's really amazing. I started at the main entrance. I roamed around. I couldn't find anything. I found celebrity graves like Carlos Jobim. He's the guy who wrote The Girl from Ipanema. I found Carmen Miranda. I found Santos Dumont, but nothing about Selarón. So after looking for an hour, I went back to the administration and I said, can you tell me where his grave is? We crossed the whole cemetery. I don't know how far we walked, but it was on the very other end of the cemetery. And that's when he showed me this white wall.
Selarón was in a pauper's grave, identifiable only by the H8 code that was scratched into the whitewashed cement. Now, something that's a little different with Brazilian burial customs from what we might be used to is that after 3 years in the wall, behind this concrete, unless someone claims your body before 3 years and 1 day and arranges a permanent burial, your bones would be discarded for waste. And something in Maren said that this can't be the right final send-off for Selarón, a man she wasn't related to, a man she'd only met twice, a man she really didn't know. It's amazing how art and travel can connect people so fiercely. Well, whatever the reason, Maren went to meet with the director of the cemetery. She really didn't want to think of Selarón, the creator of those beautiful stairs, who had been so grateful for the gift of 7 tiles. She really didn't want to think of him being discarded like an empty bag of chips after 3 years behind the number 8.
I just went in there, and there was this really cool cemetery director and said, "You're really funny, you know? I mean, you're German, you don't even live here, and you just keep asking about this guy, and you really seem to care. So I promise you that we will find a solution. So even if the 3 years and 1 day are over and none of the family members have contacted the cemetery to do something, the two of us, we will find a solution to make his memory last."
And they did, together with a small team of people who also felt connected with Selarón, his former assistant Caesar, tour guides from the city, the cemetery director, and a lawyer friend of Maren's. They found a permanent site for the artist. Fittingly, the cemetery director suggested a staircase. Now, remember, it was 7 Holland America Line tiles that sparked this totally out of the ordinary connection between Maren and Selarón. Now Selarón would have a new staircase, but no tiles. And so it seemed only right to call on Holland America Line at this part of the story.
Since my mom and I had traveled so many times on Holland America Line, of course I knew Gerald Bernhoff from the Mariner Society, and I also knew Stein Kruse, who was CEO at that time. Both were really enchanted by the story, and Gerald was so kind to send a whole box of Holland America Line tiles directly to the cemetery to help decorate the new tomb. And Stein, he was the one who actually paid for the administrative costs.
And so if you visit the cemetery today, you will find an official tomb to Selarón, tiled by 2 German ladies, Maren and her mum, alongside a few other volunteers, for an artist who they never really knew, who transformed his neighborhood into a sensational mosaic and gave a whole new meaning to Mariner Society tiles. I tell you what, now feels like a good time to open up the portal and collect our next port of call, Rio de Janeiro. So here is a photograph of the port area. It's a big cavernous terminal here, one of these long shed-type terminals, and it's pretty well set up for us in terms of it does have Wi-Fi. There are toilets in there, beautiful toilets, amazing toilets. Taxis waiting outside, tourist information inside, and also ATM machines inside the terminal area. So for those of us who are arriving into Brazil without any real, the national currency here, then this is a good spot to get it safely inside the terminal area. Also outside, conveniently for public transport options, if you like to go on the tram is right outside. So that couldn't be easier. That is fantastically convenient. To see it on a map, we are where the ship is, of course, and then the area that I've put the box around, that's the area known as the Centro. Now, Rio is a big city, and so there are regions of Rio, but actually, if you wanted to stay local, if you feel more comfortable to stay within a walking distance of the ship, then that Centro area is brilliant. You're going to find plenty to do in that area without venturing too far. But for those of you that are interested in getting a little bit further afield, you will be treated for it because this city has a lot to offer. Okay, let's get the obvious one out of the way first. If you're in Rio, you have to visit Christ the Redeemer. It is basically a rite of passage. Perched up on the Corcovado mountain, he's got the best view in town, on a clear day anyway. But how do you get there? Well, there are a couple of options. The first option, the official vans. And this is the easiest way. You just hop on from Copacabana or Lago de Machado or pañeras, and your entry ticket is included in the van price. The second option is to take the train from Cosme Velho, and this is also a very nice way to do it because it takes you through the Tijuca forest. But here's the thing, you need to book that one in advance online because it fills up fast, so you're less likely to get a ticket on the day. Now, if you are going independently, make sure you buy your ticket from an official source. I would recommend that official website on the screen. Do not buy your tickets from the people selling tickets in the street, because they are not all selling you a ticket. And one last tip, get there as early as you can, because this is one of the most popular sites, not just in Rio, but in Brazil. And trust me, you won't be the only one with that idea. Another one, if Christ the Redeemer is Rio's postcard shot, then Sugarloaf is the city's ultimate thrill ride. What you get here is a glass-walled cable car that has been whisking visitors up to the mountain since 1912. And the views are absolutely unreal. The journey happens in 2 stages. So first you go up to Morro da Ursa, then you go on to Pau da Ursa itself. 396 meters above the bay. It's actually pretty smooth, it's fast, it is way less scary than it looks, unless you hate heights. And then, well, good luck. The best time to go is sunset. You need to book online if you want to do that. Book online, skip the queues, and get ready for Rio in full panoramic glory. They do a special sunrise ride as well. If you want to be on that one, it's more expensive. You have to book it online, but my gosh, could you imagine seeing the sunrise from here? And of course, I have to mention Selarón Steps. And you already know plenty about this fabulous attraction. So just to give you a little bit more context to the area, you're in Lapa, which is one of Rio's most vibrant bohemian neighborhoods. By day, it's all about street art, colonial architecture, charming cafes. But at night, Lapa comes alive. Think samba bars, live music, caipirinhas flowing freely. And right next to the steps, you'll find the famous Arcos de Lapa, which is an 18th century aqueduct which has been turned into a tramway. This is a great place to soak up Rio's energy, its culture. Maybe you'll even see a spontaneous samba performance. Now, Rio's Metropolitan Cathedral isn't your typical ornate Baroque church. No, this one looks more like a concrete pyramid from the future. It was built in the 1970s, and it's got brutalist architecture on the outside. But if you step inside, wow. 4 massive stained glass panels stretch 64 meters high, and they flood the space with rainbow light. It's designed to hold 20,000 people. It's one of the largest cathedrals in the whole world. Love it or hate it, it's definitely unforgettable. And just outside, you spot a statue of Pope John Paul II watching over the city, because even Rio's most modern church, of course, has a touch of tradition. For those of you interested in visiting the UK, by the way, I highly recommend, if this is your sort of thing, go to Liverpool in the UK. They've got a very similar cathedral, smaller scale, but same sort of very striking design. Next up, Praça the 15th, I don't know how to say that in Portuguese, de Novembro. This is Rio's historic heart. This is where the emperors landed. This is where revolutionaries plotted. And this is where ferries still buzz across the bay. Now, this was once the site of royal arrivals, including the Portuguese royal family in 1808. And this square has seen centuries of Brazilian history unfold. You wander through, you're going to spot the Paço Imperial, the former royal palace, now a museum. You'll find the Charfires do Maestro Valentim, an 18th century fountain where horses would once come to drink. And there's also the Arco de Teles, which is leading to a charming colonial street filled with bars and cafes. this is a place where the past and present really collide over history, over politics, and probably over a cold beer. Now, I mentioned this just before, the Paso Imperial. This is where Rio's royal history comes to life. It was built in 1743, and it started as the governor's palace, but it quickly became the center of power, housing Portuguese kings, Brazilian emperors, and even Princess Isabel, who was the one who signed the law abolishing slavery right here in 1888. Today, it's a museum, it's a cultural space, hosting exhibitions, concerts, events, and the architecture, a colonial classical elegance, grand halls, courtyards that just whisper with the stories of Rio's royal past. You step inside, you're walking through history, just without the powdered wigs and royal drama, but the exhibitions, they still might surprise you. The entry is free. Now, this really interests me. The Fundação Biblioteca Nacional. It's not just a library. This is Latin America's biggest treasure trove of books. Now, when King João VI fled to Brazil in 1808, he didn't just bring his royal court. He packed up 60,000 books from Portugal, laying the foundation for this magnificent library. And today it holds millions of works, from rare manuscripts to historic maps. Now, just across the road is the Teatro Municipal do Rio de Janeiro, and this is Rio's answer to the Paris Opera, with jaw-dropping gold and marble interiors. So whether you're here for books or ballet, history or high culture, this corner of Rio has you covered. Now, for those of you interested in the theatre, I must let you know with some disappointment that there is nothing on the night that we are staying. They are in between shows for 4 days, and so we won't have the opportunity to actually see something on the stage. But the building itself is worth visiting. All right, now we're going to go south, Copacabana. The name alone sounds like a party waiting to happen. It brings images of Barry Manilow to mind. All different images of Barry Manilow, because I've got all the different variations of his nose through the years in my mind right now. All of them singing along the beach. This is Rio's most famous beach, a 4-kilometer stretch of golden sands, crashing waves, and a promenade paved in that iconic black and white wave pattern. By day, it's all about sun, surf, beach vendors selling cold coconuts and caipiranhas, but by night, the bars and the kiosks just come alive. And nearby, you've got the Forte de Copacabana, which is a stunning place of bay views, legendary cafe, Rua Safariera, which is a shortcut to Ipanema. So you've got so many options here, whether it's to relax, to people watch, to soak up the classic Rio energy. Copacabana never disappoints. And it's also a relatively safe place to be into the evening, which not all of the city is. We're going to cover more of the safety stuff later this evening at our Q&A. Alrighty, for the art lovers, Rio's Museum of Modern Art, MAM, is where Brazilian creativity meets brutalist architecture. You're sitting right on Guanabara Bay here, and this sleek, glass-walled masterpiece is as much a work of art in its own right as what's inside. You can expect bold, thought-provoking exhibitions featuring everything from Brazilian modernism to avant-garde installations. Their permanent collection includes works by Di Cavalcanti, Tarsila do Amaral, the international icon of Picasso. He's on display here too. But the real secret are the gardens. They were designed by a landscape genius called Burl Marx, and they are a perfect place for a post-gallery stroll. So if it's for the art, the architecture, the killer view of Sugarloaf, MAM in Rio is a must-see. And as a bonus, there is a really great cafe here. Final of my top 10, and of course there are so many more than 10 things in Rio, is the Olympic Boulevard. This is where the 2016 Olympics left their mark. This revamped waterfront district is home to the world's largest street mural, There's a stunning explosion of color here. It's by a Brazilian artist called Eduardo Cobra, and it features indigenous faces from 5 continents, 67 meters long. It's impossible to miss, and it is perfect for a photo stop. And just down the boulevard, you'll find the Museum of Tomorrow, a futuristic science museum that looks like it's about to take off into space. Whether you're here for street art, science, a stroll along the bay, this is Rio's modern side at its best, and it is right there next to the ports. Let's have a look at all of the highlights on a map. And you can see things are relatively spread out here. You could walk number 10, number 5, number 6 pretty easily. If you're a good walker and you like a good city walk, then I think you can also get to 4 and 7 by walking. And if you are really, really adamant that you will not touch any form of transportation, then you could get to 3 and 9 in an hour. But if you are going to Christ the Redeemer, Sugarloaf Mountain, or indeed to Copacabana, then you really do need to take some form of transportation. You've got taxis, you've got Uber, you've got the tram, you've got buses, so you've got lots of options here. And for Christ the Redeemer in particular, I would recommend sticking to the official vans. Just go with the official one. You know you're safe and you are not being diddled. Selarón stairs have truly become a sensation in Rio and beyond. Maren's own staircase, her tribute to the artist that is now his final resting place, has also become something of a landmark. In Germany, they've even produced a short movie about it. But after it was all done, something was bothering Maren.
I'm sure by now you think, oh my God, this woman is totally crazy. Yes, I totally agree. And to top this whole thing off, after I put all my tiles that I ever got from Holland America Line in the mausoleum, I had no tiles whatsoever left from all the travels that I did with my mom.
The lady who had just spent 6 years obsessing over tiles on behalf of a Chilean artist living and then buried in Brazil was suddenly tileless.
I kind of missed my tiles, and I thought, okay, at least the 7 tiles that I gave to him in 2012, I would like to rebuy and just put them in a frame at home.
But that's not quite what happened.
I have to admit I didn't only buy the 7. So by now I have 295 different tiles from Holland America Line at home because I just couldn't make up my mind which ones I like best. Think whatever you like. So I admit to being quite crazy.
I don't think Maren's crazy. I think she's inspired. And to be honest, I don't even think the designers of those little blue and white tiles could have had any idea what their creations would turn into. Travel brings out the best of us, the weird obsessions, the untamed passions. It frees us, and yet equally, it binds us. But it binds us to each other, across countries, across communities, across cultures. And Maren's irrefutable connection with Selarón, pasted together forever with a few thousand Holland America Line tiles, is testament to that. Thank you.